Cleveland Browns versus New Orleans Saints preview. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start talking about the game. Sunday, Jameis Winston's return to New Orleans. Now, it's not exactly a revenge, right? If Dennis Allen was still here, absolutely. We all remember what happened in week 17 of the NFL season last year. But Dennis Allen's gone, so it's not exactly a revenge game. It is going to be interesting to see Jameis playing in the Superdome against a lot of players that he's friends with and all that. So that will be a thing, but I would not call it a revenge game. I think you'll hear a lot of people say that. But I do want to break down the game a little bit here. We are starting off with the Action Network. They're going to talk about the game from kind of a 30,000-foot view up. And obviously we'll continue our coverage of the game, but this is a good way to start it to see how the national media views this game.
This one is really interesting. Cleveland and New Orleans. New Orleans is now a 1-point underdog, one of the biggest movers from Sunday night. Yeah. I flagged this at Cleveland +3.
Yeah, great
to
call.
Me, forget about any metrics. It was purely and obviously all public perception, right? Bookmakers posting a number, taking advantage of the euphoria around the Saints win. I don't.
All right, so this part is not a surprise. We covered this, if y'all watched my grading box score video, which, what masterclass on how to break down box scores. But in there, we said, actually the Saints-Falcons box score, a little bit the Saints kind of got fortunate, not overly fortunate. It's not the same as Miami and the Rams or the Chargers or games like that, but still the box score is a little bit fugazi. Now, normally, I would be all over a team like the Browns who go from +1, +1.5, whatever, and then blow through the zero and become the favorite. Dog to favorite line flips are one of my favorite betting angles in every sport. But sometimes I feel like I think Browns +1.5, Browns on teasers, that all sounds good. Browns laying points in New Orleans, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I'm going to kind of push back on what I think a lot of people you're going to hear a lot of people say who are back in the Browns.
Think any lingering thoughts of Jameis from the week before played into it, but certainly it's possible. At 3, I really liked Cleveland.
Yes, for sure.
I think I still like them at 1, but a lot less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'd be okay with them at 3 or 2.5, but there's no way I'd bet this now. I'd honestly lean towards the Saints team just because.
Okay, so these guys are actually on my side with this. And I agree. It's one thing to like the Browns at 3. It's one thing to like the Browns at 2, 2.5, 1.5, 1. To like the Browns at pick or -1 or whatever, that seems a little crazy. Let's go ahead and look at some numbers here, shall we? This is the composite rankings, okay? Cover this every week. We got FPI, Neflo, Unpredictable, Massey Peabody, Unexpected, and Fez. The Saints are right now composite, the 21st team in the NFL. Highest is Massey Peabody, has been 18. Lowest is Neflo, lowest is Unpredictable at 27. That seems crazy low. So let's go with Fez, let's just go with the consensus. So the consensus is the Saints are 2 points worse than an average team. All right? But look at the suckbag Browns. The suckbag Browns are 25th on the consensus, 3.5 points worse. So this is telling you that if the Saints and the Browns played on a neutral field, the Saints should be -1.5. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Saints are not playing on a neutral field. They're playing in the Superdome, one of the best home field advantages you can possibly have. So let's say you give us 2 points for that. That gets you closer to 3, which is where this opened. Now also factor in Erik McCoy. Erik McCoy on track to return. I have the injury report right here. Lucas Patrick, Pete Werner, Jamal Williams didn't play Thursday or didn't practice Thursday. Not what you want to see with Werner. Limited, Erik McCoy. Kool-Aid's back. So if McCoy plays, then if McCoy, think about this. Let's say Kool-Aid is back. Let's say McCoy's back. And Kool-Aid will be back. He's a full participant. Then even if all these other guys are out, this is the this is the best injury report we've got in a long, long time. Let's go to DVOA. Okay. Now DVOA is a little controversial for the Saints because a lot of this is factoring into 3 games with Spencer Rattler, but it is what it is. I mean, Cleveland could say the same thing with Watson, but so DVOA wise, the Saints are 20th. The Browns are 31st. All right. Horrible. Offensive DVOA, the Saints are 20th. The Browns are 32nd. Okay. Defensive DVOA, the Saints are 23rd. The Browns are 18th. All right. So every metric, everything we've got points to the Saints. Home field advantage, DVOA, consensus, the power rating, everything. Even the injury report is good for the Saints. So how the hell is Cleveland laying a number on the road? Okay. We're on offensive DVOA. Passing offense, the Saints are 23rd. Cleveland is 32nd. I mean, Cleveland's horrible. Like, they are really, really, really bad. Running, New Orleans 12. Cleveland is 30th. All right? Terrible. Now, what does New Orleans want to do? They want to run the football. Okay, so let's see how Cleveland stacks up in the run, because that's important. Against the run, Cleveland is 15th. Okay, the best thing they do is stop the run, but even at that rate, it's a average. 15's average. The 23rd in pass defense. The Saints are 12th. A lot of that's without Lattimore, but it is what it is. Rush, or a lot of that is with Lattimore, so it is what it is. Rush, the Saints have been terrible against the rush. They are 31st. Okay, so not good. But if we go back to offensive DVOA, can Cleveland take advantage of it, right? If the Saints are a bad rush defense, can Cleveland take advantage of it? Let's see what the rush offense for Cleveland is. It is 30th. So, the Saints do have a weakness, but I'm not sure Cleveland's the team that can take advantage. I think Cleveland is a really, really bad team. They have shown all year long they are a really, really bad team. They got the bounce with Jameis against Baltimore, but even that game, Jameis should have thrown 3 or 4 interceptions, including one to Kyle Hamilton, that Kyle Hamilton just flat out dropped. So there is some euphoria around the idea of Jameis like revamping Cleveland, but in reality, he's just ass. And he's been ass the whole time for Cleveland.
This Cleveland team, they're just bad. They're a bad team. James Winston's bad. And overall, I know they're coming off a bye week here, and this is, I guess, is a spot for them to take and fade of the Saints. But this is another game I'm happy to sit out. It's like, I don't want to bet anything on the Saints again. I really don't want to bet Cleveland at a bad number.
No, I felt like, dude, the Saints, we had our taste. Yeah. It was a delicious meal. It's like,
it had its moments.
It's like trying the poison fish. It could be the greatest meal you ever have in your life. I don't know that I have the stomach to try it again.
I do not.
At all. Browns defense still one of the tops in pressure rates, top 3, top 7 for overall.
Yeah, and the under is fun. You can have fun there.
Yeah, that's true. But
I don't think you can play an under in this game. I disagree with that.
Also, as much as we hate Derek Carr, he is actually better against pressure than almost anyone in football. Top 3 in big time throws, near the lowest percentage of turnover worthy plays. So he is a quarterback who has seen it, but yeah.
Oh, he's one of the best quarterbacks throwing a deep ball when he knows he's about to get punched in the face with someone's helmet. He is so good at it. He needs it. It's the only time. If no one's coming at him, he will sail that ball 20 yards too deep. If he's about to get hit, it's going to be right on step for that wide receiver. Yeah, he's truly a psychopath.
Say this about the Carr brothers and whatever was happening in the Carr family. Those are the 2 losingest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. No joke. If you look at career records at 50 games, 60 games, 70 games, there is no 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I just saw this stat he's talking about on Twitter, where if you go to the numbers, it's 50 games, 75 games, 100 games, whatever it is. It's either Derek or David in every single one of them. They own the entire list. It's crazy. Now, again, I don't think wins and losses is a quarterback stat, but and then we saw the stat that I think Derek has lost to every team in the NFL except the Raiders. So, those are fun like fun media narratives, but I don't think they really matter at all.
Who have lost more games than these two guys at various thresholds, but they can take a fucking beating.
Okay,
these two guys.
Hey,
like it is
relax,
insane how willing they are to just.
They're tough as hell. I mean, Derek is tough as hell, no doubt about that. David is tough as hell too for taking 70 sacks or whatever was his rookie year.
Stand there and get punched in the freaking face. I don't know where that comes from.
In another life, they would have been bull riders, but instead they were quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the type of guys.
So true. So true. Just a couple of rodeo guys. I covered the rodeo once. Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Covered the only female bull rider on the male rodeo circuit.
I never covered a rodeo in my reporter days, as we all know. Former crime reporter / breaking news reporter for a Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper. Covered some weird stuff, no doubt about it. Covered a lot of murder trials. Covered a bunch of ship christenings, naval ship christenings. Those are always fun. But, you know, it is what it is. But, I think as far as this goes, I think we've gotten to the point to where I kind of like the Saints. Like, I currently haven't bet the Saints, but at this number, I think you have to. And because of the injury, or because of McCoy coming off of injury, even because of Kool-Aid, like even because of just getting players back at random positions is always helping. And maybe there's something to this where Dennis Allen's out, Rizzi's in, they get the win against Atlanta, they're still home, they don't have to travel any of that, get another week of good vibes and whatever else they're doing. Maybe they do restart their mojo. You know, maybe it does restart the mojo, and maybe it's not as much of a dead cat bounce as some other teams when they fire a coach or replace a quarterback or whatever. So I think the Saints are in a unique situation because it's like they're in the perfect storm of where they should be a fade team this week. But I think because of some other factors, like Erik McCoy, like Dennis Allen being out and Rizzi being in and all that stuff, I think because of those factors, they almost are like a bet-on team. They're almost on a team that, like, let's take a look at the box score last week. I mean, I know I've talked about this a million times, but they had 7 yards of play. You know, like, I understand that they didn't necessarily win the box score, but they still had 7 yards of play. Like, 7 yards of play is elite, okay? And they did it. I understand there's long chunk plays, but they did it with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kevin Austin Jr., Dante Pettis. Like, that's when people are like, I made a video on this too this week, but it's like, is Clint Kubiak getting a pass? Is Clint Kubiak actually a good OC? I would say my brother's in Christ. He's getting a team to average 7 yards of play with the combination of Kevin Austin, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Dante Pettis. And I mean, yeah, this is incredible. Like, this is insane. Yes, there are long chunk plays, no doubt about that. But this isn't a fluke. This isn't a fluke thing when you're averaging 7 yards of play. You know, even other games. Chargers game, okay? Chargers game was no fun, right? No fun to watch. Averaged 5.4 yards of play. They averaged 5.4 yards of play. You know, it was a miserable offensive experience for sure, but 5.4 yards of play, 5.6 yards of rush against the Chargers defense on the road with a lot of injuries. Okay. There's something going on. You know, there's something happening there. I mean, let's take a look at like some other just kind of look at some other, like Washington last night. Washington on Thursday Night Football. Washington is supposed to have the greatest offense of all time, right? I keep getting, if I had $1 for every time I saw Cliff Kingsbury for Saints head coach, I'd be a millionaire. In Washington last night against Philly, Washington averaged 4.2 yards of play. 1.2 yards worse than the Saints were yards per play against the Chargers, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Saints have a prolific offense and a great offense, but some of these numbers do show that they might not be as bad. They might not be the poisonous fish that people are making them out to be. Like whenever Chad said, he can't stomach the Saints. I think the Saints had a really bad couple of games there with Denver and Tampa, and in a certain extent the Chargers game. But if you really dig into it, it's like you could see the bottom for the Saints when all the injuries happened. You could see that bottom against Tampa and Denver. And then you can see, like, okay, they're getting players back, and you can see that production kind of sloping up to go from, whatever. Like, if I had to guess, so you go 7 yards of play against Atlanta. Against Carolina, you go 5.8. So you go 5 point. Yeah, think about that. Like, so you're getting players back, okay? So you're getting players back. This is the bottom. This is absolutely the bottom. Nobody is available in this game. So you bottom out at 4.1, okay? Then you go to 5.4. We saw a bunch of offensive linemen come back in that game. So you go 5.4. Then the return of Derek Carr, you go 5.8. All right. Then more health, at home, whatever, clip up to 7. All of a sudden you're 7. And I'm not saying you always are going to clip up, but it's not like the Saints are going 5.5 yards a game, 3.2 yards a game, 7 yards per game, 2.7 yards a game. Like, they're pretty consistently moving up now as these injuries are starting to heal up. So I think we get a good effort out of the Saints. I think they beat Cleveland. Like I said, normally I would what you should do, like what you should have done / do is just wait on the numbers, tease both sides. Get Cleveland +8, +7.5, +7, however you get it, and then wait for the numbers to move around, and then all of a sudden you got the Saints +7, Saints +7.5, whatever. So that's how, like, if you're super sharp and you're really trying to watch the market and all that. If you're not trying to do all that and you're just trying to put $50 on the game and have some fun, put it on the Saints. I like them this week. I think they put it on the Browns. I think the Browns are bad. I think Jameis is bad, and we'll see them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.